Welcome back to another message crawler update. Today I want to show you how to use MySQL with message crawler version 7. So let's go to my screen and I'll show you how to do it. Alright, so now we're on a computer that never had MySQL installed before. So let's go to MySQL website, download a copy of the software and install it. Now, first thing I want to go over is what kind of a bit of a misconception that MySQL is like this free, open source, unsecure, half-baked solution. This is not. MySQL is a proper database trusted by lots of companies, and it is owned by Oracle. So this is not some kind of little side project that somebody wrote. If your IT department says something like that, you can let them know that this is what it is. Next, we need to download two components: MySQL installer, which you can find in this URL, and MySQL workbench. The SQL itself, this is the server which is going to run and manage databases, and this is a graphical user's interface. Just like you have an SQL server, you have the SQL management console, and you have the SQL server itself. So we're going to download them both, and now I have them in my downloads folder, and I'm going to run the installer. So allow all the permissions and just kind of run through it with basically clicking next. There isn't a whole lot to configure, so we're going to do server, and should we do full? Yeah, sure, let's do full. And this is actually going to grab a workbench as well. And now we're going to hit install, and we'll let it do its thing. Now, while installing, quickly tell you what was the difficulty with MySQL. I had my eyes on it to get it working right away when I started working on version 7, but I had difficulties with character encoding and connections. Somehow there's way more management and sort of babysitting it and dealing with it in order to get it to work properly. What's been happening is some of these chat applications like Facebook, usually the consumer ones, they allow users to use like all these really crazy character sets that are like in extended Unicode, and it took me a really long time to figure out all the connection strings and settings and everything that I need to use in order to support that. So now that I got it figured out, I had really good success using using MySQL. Now, the other thing we're going to have to do is change some settings. Microsoft SQL tends to use a lot of memory to cache its transactions. It's basically says like, hey, I got this much memory on the computer, all of it is mine, I'm just gonna do what I gotta do. MySQL works a little bit differently, where it's very timid. It doesn't take much memory, so we're gonna need to change those settings. Now this is finished, so we can say this is, server computer, development computer, whatever we can call it. I'm gonna just go next. We can do strong. So root password, we are going to, it's gonna be pretty short password, but that's fine. And let's see, we're gonna add user, and this doesn't really matter for this case, so I'm just gonna give it a password. So user Nick, db admin, and we're gonna go next, and I'll just call this HTL03. This is what the computer name is, and grant full permissions. So let it do its thing. So there are two major things we have to change on MySQL after installation. One is our memory utilization. And to do that, we're going to modify two settings. So I'm going to tell you what they are in a second. Okay. All right, that's enough. Just finish up. Okay, and we even have Workbench going. So we can create connection, HTML3. Is this right? I'm not sure if this is right. I think this is right. Okay, and we're on our server. So the settings that we have to change. And let's go into server, users and privilege, and whichever account we're going to be using for connection, we need to change this. Limit to host matching. Sometimes this isn't set to %sign, it's set to something else. Probably going to be like this. Yeah, root is set. So only a local computer can connect to this server. Now, if you're setting up message crawler with MySQL on one computer, it's probably going to be fine. And in fact, it might be more secure. But if you setting up MySQL on a different computer, which you probably should, like a real server, you need to allow other people to access it through the network. And this is what this %sign does. It says it allows anybody to connect here as long as you have the credentials. All right, so that's one important thing. If you don't do this, you will not be able to connect from a different computer. The second thing you have to do is configure our memory utilization. Now, I'm not an expert at this, and what I recommend you do is read documentation. But if that is too much to ask, which I know for a lot of people it is, ask ChatGPT. Just say, how do I optimize memory usage in MySQL instance? And it's going to give you a whole list of things you can do. Because I'm not an expert, I don't want to kind of explain to you all that, but I'll tell you two settings that I changed that I felt improved performance on my server. And one is this. This is how much memory server is going to use. And you can pretty much max it out, right? Not all the memory you have available, but 75% of it. You can just allow it to use that much, and that's going to cache data before it writes to disk. And then the second setting here is controlling how often it is writing to disk. So by default, MySQL tries to be very safe, where it tries to write data down as soon as possible. But what we're dealing here is we're not dealing with like a bank transactions where people saving their account information or something, and quarter of a second and everything breaks, right? We have a long running tasks. We could be loading something for 5, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, even more. So what we can allow MySQL is don't need to write everything right away. If there is a second or two delay, no one cares. And if the whole thing crashes, well, your job is probably going to crash, so doesn't even matter. So we can allow it more delay for writing data, and we can say you can use more memory to cache your data. So those are the two settings I changed. There are probably way more settings, and in fact, if you go into like option file here and you look at I don't know why it's not opening up, but if you go in here and you look at your different configurations, there is so many options you can change. It's crazy. So reading the manual is obviously the best thing, and the next is using ChatGPT to just simply ask. All right, so now that we have everything installed, let's go to Message Crawler 7 and configure it to use MySQL database. First time you're going to run Message Crawler is going to say, hey, we need to make a a small database, and this is going to be SQLite database, where we're going to be holding our connections, our list of databases. So if I go to desktop and I can say, MC7 connections, and I can say connections.SQLite. This is going to be a database that could be shared between multiple users. So when you're working with multiple real databases, you can switch between them. So let's add a database. We're going to say MySQL, and we're going to call it, this is demo connection, HTLO3, MC7 demo, and we're going to use credentials that we used during installation. So I'm going to hit save, and now we have an entry. Now, so this entry is in that temporary SQLite database here. Let's click open, and what will happen, message crawler is going to go to MySQL, and it's going to build the database, create structure, do everything that it needs to do. All right, and so the database was created, and now we can go in here and we can see that, well, we have data here, right? We have profiles, the defaults have been configured, and now we're using MySQL server. And now if we go to MySQL Workbench, we can see we have our database, MC7 demo, we can expand it, we have all the tables, and we can kind of go to, I don't know, profiles and confirm that, well, we do select, you know, something, and we do have records here. So database was created, and some data was written to it, and now we are ready to use message crawler as normal as we would with Microsoft SQL. So the last thing I want to note is for version 7, it is not recommended to use it with SQLite. The database structure in version 7 is way more complex. There are lots of indexes, everything is connected to each other, and SQLite is just not good enough database to handle that. It'll work for very small sets, but MySQL is the preferred free option for version 7. The best option, of course, is Microsoft SQL, but if you don't have it, you can install this and you'll be able to use it. Now, I do realize there are some quirks with installation and configuring. There might be errors. You will have to Google and figure out how to configure your server, so it does take more work than Microsoft. Microsoft's just pre-configured. You know, you hit the server name and it's done. This takes a little bit of work, but that's what you get when you get free solution. All right, thank you guys for checking this update. I will see you on another.